Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my Untitled Pick series. I'm your host Tim, and this is episode 4. We're back this week for UFC on ESPN 28, Fight Night Brasilia, taking place this Saturday, March 14th in Brasilia, Brazil. I'm going to recap picks from last week at the end of the video this time, but I will quickly shout out that I went 5-6 overall, with the only pick I got wrong being the split decision loss from Max Griffin as the dog of the card. Stay tuned to the end for a bit more in-depth recap of last week's picks. So then let's get right into UFC on ESPN 28, Fight Night Brasilia. Looking at this card, I feel like it's actually a pretty good card, featuring a lot of Brazilian talent. Besides the main event, you have Maia versus Burns in a grappler showdown, Moicano taking on Damir Hadžović, the return of Johnny Walker. It will be interesting to see how he bounces back against a tough opponent in Nikita Krylov. Malecki versus Alexei Kachenko I think should be an interesting fight. And of course, Jussier Formiga versus Moreno has all the makings of a great scrap. Starting with the main event, Oliveira has won 7 in a row since losing to Felder in 2017, but he's fought mostly veterans in mid-level competition. While Kevin Lee has lost 3 of his last 5, he's also been fighting top-level competition. I wish Kevin Lee didn't knock Gregor Gillespie out so quickly. I really would have liked to see how Lee's cardio was going to hold up over the whole 5 rounds. The cardio issue being a gray cloud that has been hanging over Kevin Lee's career in the UFC. So it's hard for me to really trust him here, and while Oliveira has been knocking people unconscious lately, he's always going to be a threat in the grappling exchanges. I am going to side with Lee here. My hope is that if he can't finish Oliveira early on, that he'll at least be able to win the first few rounds and be able to reach the final bell. So the pick is Kevin Lee via 5-round decision victory. My co-main event pick is also going to be my honorable mention dog pick. I actually put out a longer in-depth full breakdown video of Demian Maia versus Gilbert Burns. You can click the suggested link in the top right of the video, and the link will also be included in the description and in the end card. Official pick is Maia here via split decision, but if you want to know more about the matchup and why I made that decision, then go ahead and check out the video. My lock of the card is going to be Amanda Ribas. Randa Markos is tough, but she is pretty hit or miss in her performances. And even at her best, I see her struggling with Amanda Ribas. Ribas was able to stuff Dern's takedowns, pick her apart from range, and even showed that she is safe in Dern's guard. I think Markos is a little more well-rounded than Dern, but Ribas has shown great defensive vision at range, good judo, and BJJ. I believe Ribas will at minimum win by decision, but look for Ribas to pressure Markos against the cage, take the back, and submit her in round 2 via rear naked choke. In regards to an honorable mention pick here, I did want to mention Renato Moicano. I won't be selecting him as an official pick, as I'm a bit worried about his durability after the Aldo and Korean Zombie losses. And while those were against 2 top-level opponents, the Bosnian bomber does throw bombs, so I'll be staying away from Moicano here, even though I think he does have the skills to secure the victory. Honorable mention lock of the card is going to be Jussier Formiga. I like Brandon Moreno. I think he's a dog, and he always goes out there and fights hard every time. I was on Moreno for the Kai Kara-France fight, but Kai was there to get outworked and had gotten by with a couple close, controversial decision wins. The same opportunity for Moreno isn't going to be present in the Formiga fight. Besides losing to Benavidez by second round KO in his last fight, where he didn't look very good, Formiga was able to beat Figueiredo and Sergio Pettis via decisions in his 2 fights prior, both of whom now have beaten Benavidez. Look for Formiga to take Moreno down and grind out a decision win here, but I could see him locking in a rear naked choke in round 2 or 3. On the dogs, other than Maia, I feel like Nikita Krylov is a fairly live dog going up against Johnny Walker. He seems a bit undersized in all of his fights, and I imagine that he will look even smaller next to Walker. Krylov's lack of a gas tank is also worrying, when I feel like his best path to victory here is to win this one via decision. So I just can't pull the trigger on him, and that means dog of the card is going to be Malecki versus Veronica Macedo. Macedo had to withdraw from her last 2 fights. I know she had issues with severe headaches, and they thought it was concussion related. Macedo will be moving back up to 135 pounds. The last time she fought at 135 was back in 2016 in a loss, in which she actually got finished by Ashley Evans Smith. Malecki didn't look great in her UFC debut against Duda Santana, but most fighters making their UFC debuts underperform. Malecki will also have a 5-inch reach advantage and almost 9 inches of reach. Besides not looking great in her stand-up, apparently she is a former European Muay Thai champion and a former Muay Thai world champion. I just can't trust Macedo at all, particularly as such a favorite. I'm a little worried that this fight might not even happen, but I am going to go Malecki as the dog of the card. At minimum, I see her winning a decision, but I think she'll probably get a 3rd round finish. So those are my picks for UFC Fight Night Brasilia. Now on to a recap of my picks from last week's card. That was UFC 248. As previously mentioned, I went 5 of 6 overall. I came in 3 out of 5 for dog picks. That was 60% overall. This past week I picked Max Griffin as my dog of the card and Neil Magny as honorable mention. Max Griffin won the first round. He got caught by a big uppercut in the second, which opened up a pretty bad cut, and he proceeded to lose the round. And in the third, Oliveira took Max down, but Max was able to reverse the position and in the round and the fight on top. But Griffin lost a split decision. That was the only pick I got wrong this time, and I think it was the right call by the judges. Magny came out showcasing a really nice snappy jab, and he was able to push a pace on Lee. Lee faded as the fight moved into the later rounds, and as predicted, Magny was able to cruise to a decision victory. So that brings me to 4 out of 6 for 66.6% on official dog picks. I came in 4 out of 4 at 100% correct for my lock picks. I was able to keep the perfect streak going with picks of Sean O'Malley and Mark Madsen. I want to start off by saying the Sugar Show is back. O'Malley came through with the first round finish as predicted. It was a great performance, and I'm really glad to see Sean O'Malley return to the octagon. Mark Madsen dominated the grappling exchanges early on, but struggled on the feet in round 3. Although he didn't get the finish, Madsen was able to reach the final bell and secure the decision. So that brings me to 6 of 6 and 100% perfect on lock picks. In main event picks, I came in 1 out of 2 for 50% correct. I picked Weili Zhang for a 3rd round TKO and Adesanya via decision. The Joanna fight was an absolute war. I mean, I was really impressed with both women. Really, Joanna, I was very impressed. She was extremely tough. I'm sure you've seen the pictures, but man, her head was just really swollen up. Watching it live, this seemed very difficult to score. Honestly, I thought a draw would have been fair for this one, but Zhang was given the decision win. Adesanya vs. Romero was much less exciting. Adesanya was able to win a decision in what was described as a lackluster main event. It seemed like Adesanya got caught early. I think it was an overhand right by Romero in round 1, and he just really didn't look to engage for the rest of the fight. He was able to, work the leg kicks, but yeah, it just wasn't compared to the co-main event, it just wasn't very interesting. Either way, I got both main event picks correct, which brings me now to 3 of 4 on main event picks overall for a 75% clip. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video once again. If you're interested, you can check out my in-depth breakdown of the co-main event between Demian Maia and Gilbert Burns. That'll be in the description as well as in the end card. And check back next week where I'll be going over UFC Fight Night London and the return of Tyron Woodley. Comment down below if you think Tyron Woodley would be successful in his return. And of course, likes and subscribes are always welcome. Thank you so much. Best of luck on your picks and your bets this weekend. Might do like a DraftKings specific video if you were interested in that.